I still struggle with certain parts of grief even after 14 years. I'm gonna try to stay away from the cliche stuff like it'll get better with time or they're in a better place, because during my loss and my healing experience, those are probably some of the last things I wanted to hear. All I'm gonna do is speak about my experience and share my story and let you know that it is possible to survive and live with grief, as painful as it can be, some days more than others. There's no certain time frame for healing. There's not one particular way to do it, and there is no wrong in going through some ugliness in order to find beauty. It was a long battle for me, and if I'm being honest, I'm surprised I'm here with you guys today. I had a hard time accepting my loss and learning how to both let go and hold on at the same time. I've learned a lot, I felt a lot, both good and bad, but both of these things helped me along the way in their own way. My grief journey started for me back in 2009 when I lost my only sister, my younger sister, to suicide. She had just turned 20 years old. She was a young mom to 2 kids, and she had a soul so bright, you would have never seen her journey ending the way that it did. I have never spoken of her passing in all of these years because every time I would, it made me feel like I was reliving it again. It would pull me back into the bad that I felt that day and all the sadness that came over me. I felt like a piece of me went with her too. I thought how maybe if I had picked up her call that day, none of this would have happened. And how I was so angry at the world because it seemed like everyone carried on around me and I was left trying to figure out how to carry on with my life. I am now able to share this part of my story with a better understanding of myself. I understand life and death better, and most importantly, I know now more about mental health than I ever have. I refuse to let one day steal 20 years that I had with my sister. She was more than someone who took her life. She was a mom, a sister, a friend, and although she was far from a saint, there was a part of her that was so special, I won't even try to explain. I know now there are souls that you will only experience once in your lifetime. She was one of them. It saddens me that she still never gave herself a chance to heal from her own pain. I thought I knew a lot about life at 21, but I was in for a huge reality check. It's funny how the more time passes, I remember about that day in May. I remember the weather. I remember our last conversation. I remember staring at her fall asleep a few days earlier with the feeling in my gut I still can't explain until this day. I remember the doctor coming out and telling me she was gone, but I didn't need the doctor to tell me that. I felt it in my soul already. For a long time, this day was the way that I would remember her. I remember my mind drifting back and forth between the present and the past as I sat with her in the hospital, feeling the warmth leave her hands, staring at her, waiting for the coroner to come get her. I remember the anger and the pain entering me like hot acid through my veins. I remember feeling like I was walking around with a huge hole in my heart. I remember tears pouring out of my eyes, and I remember the more I wiped them away, it seemed like the more they came out. To be honest, it was this day that I started questioning my faith. I questioned if I would ever enjoy life again. At one point, I wondered if I would be able to love life the same. I went on the first year without her, being super angry at myself. I went on with either no emotion or too much emotions. And for a long time, I felt guilty for making memories without her. I wish I could sugarcoat what I'm about to say, but I won't, because it's a huge part of my story. You see, I ended up letting the emptiness get to me so bad I wanted to end my journey a few times, because I hated living with the hurt that lived inside of me. I felt the more I went on, the more the pain took over me. I changed physically, spiritually, and mentally, and not for the better. For whatever reason, my journey did not end though. All of this led me to spend time in a psych ward. I spent time in a jail, and I spent a lot of time on my own running from the pain. I couldn't tell you who or what exact moment, but something clicked in my brain during all of this. I woke up one day and I realized how tired of feeling tired I was. I got tired of days passing me by and nothing changing. I got tired of hurting the people who were still alive and loved me. I realized how fast and easy it is for grief to take over you, especially if you don't know how to deal with it, if you don't know what to do with it, and most importantly, if you don't know how to accept it. I had to figure out what I wanted to do with all of this pain. I had to admit I needed help, and I had to actually mourn my sister. First, it was letting go of the idea of control in this life. I had to change what I was focusing my time and my energy on, and I had to accept and learn that nothing is forever mine, not even my own body. Again, let me mention, it's been 14 years, and I'll be the first to tell you guys that healing doesn't happen overnight or just by doing one simple thing. It's a long time, and it took a long time before I would ever see a real smile on my face, and a long time before I would even allow anybody to love me. I accepted nothing or no one was going to change anything that had happened. No amount of anger, crying, running, blame, denial was going to bring her back. You cannot use old thinking to come up with new ways of doing things. I had to get out of my head. I had to step outside everything I had ever known up until now. And I learned there are some things in this life no doctor or no medication is going to fix for you. Sometimes the answers you end up knowing all along, but we fight ourselves on it because we're scared to change. But there are also some answers you will never get, and I promise you will drive yourself crazy if you do not learn this. For a long time after losing my sister, I would wait on a dream, a sign, something to let me know she found peace. And I got angry that it never happened as fast as I wanted it to. But it seemed like the more I let go of any bad inside of me, the more I make space for good things to come in. Finally, almost 4 years later, I did dream about her, and it was an experience that was worth the wait. I don't know if I believe in heaven or hell, but I do believe that every now and then, I get this warmness in my heart I can't explain whenever I see a butterfly, a beautiful sunset, whenever I hear one of her favorite songs randomly pop up in a store or on the radio, or whenever I cross paths with people who knew her and they still light up even 14 years later talking about her. It lets me know that she is very much alive, just in new ways now. I now work at a job that allows me to hear different stories, see different struggles, and I have front row seats to see others grow and change daily for the better. I guess in a way, besides my son, this job sort of became the purpose of my story. It lets me see that change is possible daily. I often share my sister's stories with others I come across to let them know they're not alone with mental health, and how living in the past stops you from truly enjoying your present. Most importantly, I remind them to fight for their life, because whether you see it or not, whether you feel it or not, it is worth it. We all have flaws, struggles, downfalls, setbacks, insecurities, financial problems, and our experiences will either end up making us or breaking us if we don't stay in control of what we decide to do with our experiences. Let me tell you, my sister's depression did not happen overnight. I can promise you though, in the 20 years of her life, she put up a fight, because despite everything she was carrying inside and all of the ugliness that we faced in our childhood, she chose to be a good person. She chose to smile, and no matter who she came across, she made it a point to be positive. I know her decision was not meant to hurt me or take away the joy from my life or anybody who had loved her. I forgave her recently, after all of these years, for her choice. I'm being honest, there's a lot I wish I could have and would have done differently, but what good does that do for me now? I will end this by saying this. Grief is understandable, because where there is deep grief, there is deep love. Our loved ones' lives do not have to be in vain or overshadowed by their last days here, no matter what their story was or what type of life they led. You can choose what you want to take away from your loved one's story, or how you want to tell it. For me, my sister taught me so much about living, even in her death. She was not one to go out and spread her pain. She was always willing to be there for someone and bring you up if you were down. She did her best, and I'm proud of the heart she had no matter what life threw her way. I found out years later, she was one of the only ones who had stopped her own friend from taking her life. And it made me think of life differently. I actually live differently now. I appreciate my time here, and I appreciate life in general. I wish those who are just beginning their grief journey all the blessings and joy that life has to offer. And most importantly, to remind yourself grief is okay. It's out of love that we shed tears and we miss our loved ones. I hope you all honor your loved one's story one day and have no shame in it. We're all simply humans, If you give yourself time to feel, deal, and heal, life can change. Life happens fast. Remember to slow down every once in a while. Breathe and try something new, and if that doesn't work, try something else. Just as long as you don't give up, in a way you've already won. You never know who's taking something away from your situation or how you're handling things. And maybe someday, one day, someone will share your guys' story too. Thank you.